Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Dom Lovely. I am your source for all entertainment news and all points of views. Alright, I got a chance to watch the documentary involving Michael Jackson, Leaving Neverland. I watched both part 1 and part 2. And I wanted to come on here and kind of give my take on what I thought about the documentary and give somewhat of a review. I don't want to give it away for those of you who have not seen it. The first part, well, there's two parts to it. Each part is 2 hours long. I will just say that right now I am feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of different emotions, all of which I did not expect to feel. I wanted to go into watching this documentary with an open mind. And really, to be honest, I was prepared to not really believe a whole lot of what the victims were saying. I think that the media has done a good job for a lot of people of making sure people believe that both James Safechuck and Wade Robson were fabricating their stories. And so I definitely wanted to see what they had to say for myself. And now that I am an adult and I have children and I'm seeing this whole situation through the lens of a mother, I thought it was important for me to watch it. So anyway, the first hour of the documentary, they chronicalized the life of James Safechuck and Wade Robson. They talk about them being children and their families and how it came that they met Michael Jackson and developed a relationship with him. James Safechuck started out doing a little acting and TV commercials and things of that nature. And he actually was not a Michael Jackson fan at the beginning. He said that, he was into, toys and other things that other children were into at that time. He was not a Michael Jackson fan when he was a child. His mom had been, working with him to get him to do different commercials and things like that. And so his first introduction to Michael Jackson was the Pepsi commercial. Let me just go ahead and say this. As I'm doing this video and you guys are seeing the images, they're not in order. This is a lot to unpack, but I did want to present clips from the actual documentary. So you'll be seeing different images of both Wade Robson and James Safechuck as they are children and as they become teenagers and all the way up to adulthood. You'll also see images of their families. Some of the images I will have notes on them, but like I said, this is a lot to unpack on many different levels, and so I apologize if you may be looking at some images and not exactly sure what's going on. I'll do my best to kind of just talk about those things. So anyway, James Safechuck met Michael Jackson when he was first doing the Pepsi commercial, which was wildly popular. In the commercial, we see, James, going for a Pepsi and kind of going through the dressing room and looking at Michael Jackson's jackets and hats and wondering, whose dressing room is this? And then Michael pops his head in and kind of like, oh, you're looking for me. And so at that point, he took a special interest into James Safechuck and became quick friends with his parents and formed a rather weird relationship with him and his family. And let me just say this right from the beginning, when they start to talk about how close he was with James's family, I was like, so where was the Jacksons? Because I gotta say, throughout the whole documentary, it seems like Michael Jackson never interacted with his own family. Like those people were not around. For him to be so close to his mother back, when he was alive, so close to his mother, Catherine. Like, these men now as adults, they never mentioned, the Jacksons coming over, or Rebe and her family coming over, or, Janet and a boyfriend coming over, Randy and his wife and children. They never mentioned the Jacksons being around Michael. Okay, so getting back to James Safechuck, he formed a relationship with him and his family, and Michael Jackson would come over there, and they'd have dinner, and him and James would be playing hide and go seek, and running around with Nerf guns, and almost like a little child. His mother even did Michael Jackson's laundry for him. She said she kind of thought of him like a child, like he was her son. So very odd to me, because at this point he was really into his stardom, was extremely popular, had many fans and millions of dollars in the bank. And so for him to adopt this family, very odd. Where's your own family? Okay. So that was his introduction to James Safechuck. Now, Wade Robson, on the other hand, he was a dancer, very musically inclined, and he worshipped Michael Jackson, was a huge fan, posters all over the wall, the whole bit. There was a talent show that was coming up, and he wanted to showcase some of his dance moves. I guess in the documentary they speak of Jackson being in Australia during that time, and so that was their introduction. He somehow got introduced to Michael Jackson and performed on the stage with him during some of his concerts, and so that's how they started to build a relationship. By both of these men's account, things got sexual not too long after they had started, I guess, a friendship. When you're a parent and you are watching something like this, it doesn't matter how you have felt about that person. Like, for me, just being honest, like, Michael Jackson, his music was a huge part of my life and my siblings' life. I remember being younger, and that's all that, sometimes would be played in the house, while we're, hanging out and dancing, and my brother's doing all the Jackson moves, and, so I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to try to stay the course here, but I just wanted to do this video and actually give real feelings, real emotions. It was a lot. I'm going to try to stay on track. Anyway, so the abuse began for both of these men very early. Wade Robson says that his abuse started at 7, kind of the hugging and kissing on the cheek and leg rubbing. His mother was a lot of times in close proximity. She was in the area when they would travel, and Michael wanted Wade to come out to where he was, where his concerts were. They would all be staying in the same hotel, but Wade's mom, she stayed further down the hall. And she says that as time went on, she began to move further and further away from him. Both Wade's mother and James' mother said the same thing, that they could see, Michael kind of taking over their boys and, forming a more closer relationship with the boys. But I'm still trying to figure out, as a mother, how what happened for her to believe it was okay for her son at 7 years old to share a room with Michael Jackson or any man? Because, at that point, they hadn't known him that long. So that was just all wrong. How, as a mother, do you think it's okay for your child to share a room, share a bed with a grown man, which is something that Michael Jackson insisted? And, as a kid, Wade is like, yeah, I want that, mom. Sure, I want to stay with him. So many, many red flags here. I'm not going to go into all the sexual abuse that they allege happened. All very disturbing, all very disgusting. Um, Robson's family actually was truly, both families were impacted, but Michael Jackson advised his mother to leave the family in Australia, or he wanted him to come to America. He felt like he could provide better opportunities for Wade in America, and that he could really get his career and dance going. So she decided to leave her husband and her oldest son in Australia and take herself, her daughter, and Wade Robson to America to be with Michael Jackson. And during that time period, the sexual abuse still went on. During the midst of that, they found out that Wade's dad was bipolar, and his parents were having marital issues, which I believe led to a divorce. Um, in the end, his dad actually ended up killing himself after his eldest son left Australia. He was just having a nervous breakdown and really did not want to go through life without having his children. I think that Wade Robson's dad felt like Michael Jackson tore up his family and took his family away, and he couldn't live with that kind of stress and that kind of pressure. So that was basically part one. They talked a lot about the abuse, what happened, what transpired. It was very detailed, very disgusting. You know, I don't think they're lying. In my personal opinion, they both James Safechuck and Wade Robson spoke in such detail, such graphic images. I mean, these people are grown men with wives and children. I mean, for what reason do they have to concoct a story? Why would they lie about this? For money? I don't think so. Wade Robson was successful in his own right. He actually went on to become a choreographer for NSYNC and Britney Spears, and he also headlined shows. He developed all the creativity for, the Circus Olay, several different major artists that he choreographed for. So him telling his story for money, unbelievable. James Safechuck, he had some success in film directing, and I just don't believe they are lying. Their families, I don't believe the families are lying. It's just so much detail that came out. They spoke about, I can't remember if it was Wade Robson or James Safechuck, I'm sorry, I don't remember, about the calls that they would get from Michael Jackson when they were kids. And Wade mom was like, they sat on the phone for 6 and 7 hours at a time. 6 and 7 hours at a time with an 8-year-old little boy and a 32-year-old man? Like, what are y'all talking about? Then she said they would start to get faxes. If he couldn't get them on the phone, he'd send faxes. She said they came home one day and the living room floor was littered with faxes from Michael, saying, hey, I miss you, I love you, can't wait to see you. That's an obsession. And at some point, these parents had to have known that this was crossing a line. This wasn't natural. I think for many years, we as the public was, under the belief of, Michael Jackson never had a childhood because he had to grow up so early and his career took off when he was a child. So he's very childlike. What does very childlike mean? Many things, but from the account of their stories, They're saying that they were sexually molested, and I tend to believe them. The second part of the documentary focuses on the child abuse cases. We kind of see it open with the famous interview that Michael Jackson did when he talked about how the search warrant came about and how he felt violated by police and what they made him do, and says that he would never harm a children. That's another thing that we've always heard over the years. Michael would never harm children. He would never touch children. It's almost like they kept saying it so that the public could believe it. So part 2, they talked about the cases, the child abuse cases, the very, very first one that came out. And so around that time, Michael had kind of made himself a little scarce for both Wade and James. But prior to this happening, they said they felt like he was grooming them to say, okay, if anything like that ever happens out, this is what you do, this is what you say, this is what you don't do, this is what you don't say. So when this all came out, he got them on the phone and was like, yeah, they're lying on me. This is what you do. This is what you say. So they had already had it instilled in their minds from the time they were about 7 or 8 that if anybody questions you about any type of abuse or any sexual abuse, deny, deny, deny. And the sad part was that they were actually not just denying to, police or the courts, they were denying to their families. We started to see these men unravel in part 2, see their life unravel, see how they dealt with depression, anxiety, how they both just went to a very, very low place. And like I said, for Wade Robson, who was successful, who was, getting a lot of money and meeting a lot of different celebrities, and everybody wanted to work with him, just something in him was not happy. And obviously, of course, it was because he was carrying this deep, dark secret about, what happened to him. And we saw how that manifested in his adult life. So then years passed by and another child abuse claim comes out. By this time, they are older, and Wade is fully into his career. They're starting to date their soon-to-be wives, and James Safechuck is like, what, I don't even want to be involved, because at that first child abuse hearing, they actually testified on his behalf and said that they had never been touched, harmed, none of that. At that point, James Safechuck, he just did not want to be involved with it. Michael Jackson, according to them, had this thing where he would call them whenever it was time for them to testify, just to make sure that they were going to testify. And he had a guilty conscience, so he would call them all the time, and James basically told him he didn't want anything to do with it, and he allegedly said that, he said that Michael Jackson allegedly threatened him and told him that, he has the best lawyers in the world, and, basically tried to scare him. And he said, look, you won't hear anything from me. Just don't contact me anymore. I don't want anything to do with it. However, Wade Robson went on to testify again on his behalf. He said he did it because his career was thriving. He had a lot to lose. Everything that he had worked for, he just kind of wanted it to go away, and he didn't want to be bothered with it. In part 2, they also discuss Michael Jackson's death. And like I said, all the ramifications of all the abuse that happened to these guys and how it kind of took over their family. So sad. If you guys haven't watched it, you'll see that Wade Robson actually he actually felt betrayal from his mother, in my opinion. Because once he decided he wanted to tell the truth about it and talk about it, he spoke to his therapist, and he decided to tell his family. But you could tell that he had a lot to work through because, Mom, where were you? You didn't protect me. What happened here? And he actually told his mother that he has zero feelings for her. I don't have any feelings for you. I mean, his older brother, the sister, even his wife, the mom was not even allowed to come to his home anymore because Wade Robson's wife was like, if you don't have enough common sense to watch over your 7-year-old child and allow your child to be molested, then you're not even welcomed in our home to be around our child. So she was pretty much exiled from the family, except for her daughter. Her sons don't really talk to her, Wade Robson. They don't even have a relationship. I mean, this runs so thick. I mean, the lies, the secrets, it has really destroyed people and families. And I think there's a lot of victims out there that have been hurt by Michael. Whether they will come out, I don't know. A lot of these victims probably just want to pretend it never happened. They just want to go on with their lives. But yeah, I do believe them. I don't think they have any reason to lie. The creator or the director of the documentary said that they both are not getting paid for this, and they both understood that. The family is pissed off. Michael Jackson's family is pissed. They're going to try to sue HBO. I don't know how that's going to go for them. I just keep thinking back to, where was the family? It's almost like Michael Jackson wanted to escape from them. He didn't really want anything to do with them. Because James Safechuck mother made a comment, and she said that, he just seemed very lonely. Like, he just always wanted to be at their house, always wanted to hang out with them and have dinner with them. And again, we're talking about a grown person here who has wealth and money. And you guys know what else? That marriage to Lisa Marie Presley, that was always very strange. She even came out and said they never actually had sex. So we know that was all for the public, just a publicity, stunt. They never were intimate. They never had sex. But he did tell Wade Robson that he would have to get married. He would have to get married. He said, don't worry, I love you, but I'm going to have to get married so that the public won't think anything's going on with me. And those children, and now you have to wonder, did he ever do anything to his children? Very sad. A lot of things, I guess we'll never really know a lot of answers to a lot of things, but something happened to Michael Jackson. I believe he was molested himself. We'll never know who did it. I have a couple of theories that I'm not going to say. A lot of producers that he was close to who have came out and said that they are bisexual. Other people perhaps in the industry, who knows? Perhaps he was molested within the family. I mean, you never know, but something happened to him, and he turned around and inflicted the same hurt onto probably many other little boys. Now, we know Macaulay Culkin testified on his behalf during the trial. No, I don't. Yes, I do believe that there was something inappropriate that happened with Macaulay Culkin, in my opinion. He has denied it, but in my opinion, I believe something inappropriate happened there as well. We've seen Macaulay Culkin over the years. He hasn't been right at all. Always looked very sick. disheveled. Doesn't look like he's in a good frame of mind. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out the truth about that. There were several cancer victims that they mentioned in the documentary piece, young boys that we would see Michael Jackson with. Wade Robson told a story of being at a slumber party at Michael Jackson's house with 4 other boys, and he spoke about how him and one little boy got missing for about 30 minutes to an hour in the same bathroom that he and Michael had sexual relations with. And he said that he knew in his heart of hearts that something inappropriate was happening. So, all very sad, very eye-opening, very emotional. They show us how the public reacted during Michael Jackson's death, and Jane's Safechuck mother actually celebrated because he had came out to her, in his early 20s. I guess he couldn't hold it any longer, but he, swore her to secrecy, and she felt like she couldn't, or she felt like she couldn't protect him, or felt bad that she did not protect him when he was a child. So she felt like the only thing that she could do at that point was to respect his wishes and not say anything at this point while he was an adult. But again, another parent who did not speak out, who did not protect their child, who did not see obvious red flags. A grown man calling your house every day to sit on the phone with your son for 5 and 6 hours a day. You don't think anything's wrong with that? A grown man wanting to share a hotel room with your son for weeks at a time. You don't think anything's wrong with that? Red flags, man. Just another one of our African American heroes. While we love the music, speaking for myself, I'm realizing that Michael had a lot of issues and most likely did some terrible things. How can you separate the man from the music? Like with R. Kelly, okay, I believe that he did exactly what he was accused of. I have no issues like not listening to his music. Fine, whatever. I can, not listen to R. Kelly's music and be fine. And I can do the same with Michael Jackson, but it's just, it's just a lot to take in and realize, because like I said, I had been listening to his music since I was a child, loving his music. Actually, last week, I just listened to the full Thriller album, while I was working, just plugged in, got my AirPods in, just listening to Michael, jamming, Don't feel comfortable doing that. Anyway, you guys, I've rambled long enough, I guess. Just wanted to give my intake, my full thoughts, and just be as transparent as possible. There's going to be a lot of YouTubers doing reviews, and I apologize if mine has not been that well put together, but it is authentic. It is real. And, I'm just saddened by this documentary, but definitely eye-opening. All right, so you guys go ahead and get down in the comments. Let me know what you think about the documentary. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and we will chat again. Bye.